Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Biblical Britain Encoded. I've got an absolute ton of stuff to go over, but please note this is part two of really as it stands, the complete Solomon Code. But in the last week, on the first one, I obviously it opened up a lot of stuff. Just after that, and since then and now, something absolutely incredible has been revealed to me and solves the mystery of the GH, the lock and the key, which would be G-Roos and the Melin H. The Melin H, to go through that, it's all to do with the Melchizedek. It essentially says, when you unscrabble it, it says C, the letter C, again, that says, so locking into Mon's keys, King Solomon's key, put in the trick C. Again, I'll go over that again in a little while. But right, firstly, right, I did obviously mention in the last video that there was a US dollar. We did a US dollar message basically, but this is going to tie the US dollar message to a symbol that is actually on this, which you'll find this on the side of the Masonic buildings. I've put the basic one up there, but this symbol here sits here, and I think the dollar, this dollar sign sits there, right? Well, obviously there's a dollar, right? How does this all link together? Right, the first thing you've got it. Well, obviously there's a star map on Solomon's pillars, and the royal arch, which is very important for the GH actually. This Cancer symbol is because, and there's one pillar with a constellation or picture of stars on it, and then you've got the other picture with the Earth on it. What it is essentially is this overlays onto the map and creates the safe zone, with the moon highlighting the center of the combined nation safe zone, okay, or coded safe zone. This is Canaan, Swindon, Egypt, Exeter, and I will show something to you. I'm going to go over a little code again as well in a second that'll really highlight that this is really about biblical Britain, because the chances of all this fitting together, which the whole purpose of it is to show you something so impossible that it just could not be made up, how it all fits together. Okay, well, the first thing, this is the star constellation Cancer. So you've got Swindon, Exeter, Holyhead, Wales, and this fits in a K, Canaan, K, Egypt, E, and Judah, which is what they would call Judah, but obviously J is just a Roman, it's been added into the alphabet, and this should be a Y, same as Joseph is Joseph, and the Jews obviously have got that bit right if they're not in the right country. Okay, but you've got a K-E-Y basically, and then you've got Seek, S-E-E-K, and then you've got Yes. You've got there's a full message in that itself, but like if I stick to the original, where are we going with all this? Right, okay. So the signs that that are on Solomon's on this symbol. Firstly, just so you know, it says these letters say C-M-E-L-I-N. Well, this is for Clan Melin, which when you decode it, it actually says Clan Melvin. Or when it's all full, which is my family's name basically. My father's name Melvin, my grandfather's name Melvin. I'm Marco ap Melvin, son of Melvin in Welsh. Okay, the YH is phonetic YH, because when you unscramble it, you get the tetragrammaton, which is the exact thing that I connect to. What is it? I do not know. It's something that downloads frequency, I don't know what it does, and then suddenly these trigger words or trigger things come, and I instantly know what these things mean, which is really strange. But this is what's been happening to me week on week, just keeps going and going and going. Anyway, right, let's tie it together. Okay, so this is the basic construction. The G is G-Rus, Melin H. Right, well, the two stars that would fit onto these, one is called Ocellus Australis, and the other is called Ocellus Borealis. Okay, these are coded as well, maybe a message in themselves. I've done that going back. But effectively, what you have, a seller says sell AUS. This is a Ocellus. This is and this is why there's a dollar sign on there. And obviously, I've unscrambled a message, a secret message hidden in the American dollar. Okay, Australis says a Silu star. Right, I know this is a Silu star. I did the decode before. It's a 9-pointed star basically because you've got these extra flecks on there, which gives it 9 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th decoded tribe of the lost tribes of Israel, not Israel, Israel, are the Siluri. So it would make sense that that would be obviously a Ocellus. Well, without this bit, even just that bit there, a Silu star is going to go on to G-Rus, or the decoded Jerusalem, which is Kaya Went, or Ventus Ilurum in his supposed Roman given name. But and obviously this is the home of the Siluri, so that makes complete sense. Okay, right. This fort is in the shape of a key. This is like a picture of a lock, a padlock, and it's on the Temple of Mon. Okay, so what these are, this is a picture for a map, and I'll explain that now. And obviously you've got the G and the H as well there, which is the G and the H, and this is the holy head. So I guess the crown goes on the holy head. Either way, but there's a little bit more to this because this is very significant. Again, I'll come to that code. Right, right. So I can. How am I going to do this? Right. Let me just get rid of this. So this is the basic outlay for this one, by the way, says sell us a bow is real. And there is actually a bow and arrow, which I'll explain in a bit further on in the video. Okay, these are the map coordinates. This is the original KEY is Swindon was Canaan, Egypt, and Judea. These are code names for basically for England, Cornwall, and Wales. That's what they are, but it's all encoded in, and there's some kind of ruse to get. I don't know exactly what's going on, but there's some even the word Tower Babel, the word tower is actually wrote, and it's wrote Babel. Well, Babel is mixed up languages, so it's a code of mixed up language built into places and everything else, and it's mixed up language, hence it will be an anagram. Tetragrammaton also says remote anagram TT timing trigger. Okay, you just pull an E from Phoenix code, which when you unscramble that just says fix on E, or one fix. It says, well, it gives you options basically that I generally don't use, but right, firstly, okay, just to show you as well, this fits exactly. This is Ocellus Australis. Sell us a US dollar, a Silu star. Okay, right now these are both found. These two symbols are found on this with the G, the H crown, and C Melin. So it's pretty exact in what it gives you. Okay, firstly, right, I just want to point out that there's biblical Egypt is Cornwall. The corner of the cornerstone of Egypt is on the Cornwall. It's on Exeter, where they exited from biblical Egypt. I know this probably sounds crazy, but I'm going to show you something absolutely remarkable in the Torah code that pretty much confirms the same. Well, does confirm the same thing. Okay, but this is all a hidden code. This goes on to a bigger map with the Eye of Horus and everything else, and it creates this pyramid. And these three things are key to tie up with the actual first four books of the Old Testament, believe it or not. Right, so next one I'm going to do, so we've got the connection to the Tetragrammaton as well. These are the Pillars of Solomon's Temple. The Temple of Solomon is in Rgh. This is the lock and this is the key. I showed both of these on the last video, one in the shape of a key, one in the shape of a lock, which I'll show you again just now on when I show you where these two things go and what they mean and the incredible code behind it. Okay, this obviously is the Cancer constellation as well. This is why we've got the Cancer is the royal arch, and the Cancer constellation literally looks like this: 1 star, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So all it does, what this is a template. Temple Atmon is template mon, and it's a template from using Solomon's pillars, one with the sky, one with the earth, which showing it's a sky, so it's a constellation overlaid onto the earth, and that's what it does. Okay, right, and I'll come back to Ocellus Borealis as well shortly. Okay, right, okay. Now, firstly, to show just so this ties. What you've got, basically, America is modern day Egypt, and that's why you've got it's all to do with the system of slavery and their worship of, Egypt, and they're just basically reliving or reinventing Egypt, I think, which is why you have a dollar, a pyramid and everything else on the dollar. But all those pyramids and symbols, somewhere, well, apparently it was given. Whoever created the seal for the dollar was having trouble with creating the seal, and the story goes, and I quite believe it, that some random person or whatever in a hood knocked his door and handed him the seal. Said, "I heard you're having trouble with the seal. Take this and use this," and so they did. I believe they changed I think it was a phoenix originally, but not an eagle. But either way. But so whoever handed that over, I would suggest they say it was work of the devil. I actually think it was the other way around. I believe that must have been an angel or something of that description that handed it, because it sets them up in the future and exposes what they're doing right at this given time, as I will demonstrate. Okay, so let's get rid of that a minute. Okay. Right, what's the St. Austell? Right, in St. Austell, Cornwall, biblical Egypt, there is an actual pyramid. Now, I don't think for 1 minute this is an ancient pyramid, but yeah, we'll use all pyramids, like the Black Glass pyramid, to identify Lucifer, the Las Vegas pyramid. Again, if you see the Lucifer decode, you'll know what I mean with that. But St. Austell pyramid. So what the St. Austell? So just so we can link this back to the original Egypt as well, it also puts in here, it says, just move that there, just crossed off the E. You can check these yourselves if you want to go back on it. I'm going to do a few of these on this one, just so you can see that there's no doubt in how clever this is. Right, now the word pyramid is attain. So it says attain Cellus your map ID. So the two map IDs for attaining the Cellus, a Cellus Australis and a Cellus, obviously we've got the Cellus, and then you've got the Cellus Borealis. So there's two of them. So attain Cellus your map ID. Okay, so the two, but obviously, well, me being Silu as well, which is really incredible, goes back to the Archangel codes on Jerusalem, where it clearly states me as being the Silu in the sort of puzzle. Okay, right, so attain Cellus, your map ID, so we've got the Cellus Australis, so where does this all go? Bear with me. Okay folks, before I go to the map, I just want to run this quickly by, just so we can see that there is no accident, or well, it would have to be the most amazing, consistent number of coincidences that ever was, that came from nothing really. Okay, let me just get that light off there. Right, as you can see, I've got the first 4 books of the Torah. With the Torah, the first 4 books of the Bible, the Jewish version. I don't know what their version is, but the overall Old Testament version is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. When you unscramble it, it gives you an actual message that fits completely with this map and the message in this, and I'll show you what I mean. So when you unscramble this, it says you've seen exit. Exit is where Moses came out of Egypt, basically. That's what it amounts to, and it's represented by Exeter. And like I say, these are not random coordinates, as I will show you now. Okay, then it says Combs 7, which is obviously the River Severn, which is what is biblically known as the Nile, but it's not. It's all that rote babble or rote babel, rote mixed up names. It's all code as well, and the mixed basically the Nile. It's not the River Nile. It's the River Line. It's the river line between well, effectively between Egypt and Judah. Obviously cuts through Canaan. Well, Canaan would be a bit further over at this point, but either way, the Nile line. So Combs 7. It's also seen RV, because obviously this is all about the RV, the rendezvous point for the tribes, and the rendezvous point for the evil ones underneath. Okay, so right, how does this fit on the map? Right, well, this is where it gets amazing, because the first key points are Swindon, Exeter, and Holyhead. Basically, when we unscramble those 3 names, it says, right, it says, Holyhead, whoop, no, it's not you, sorry. Let's do that again. It's scene exit and wonder. Okay, now the wonder, because the pyramids are not Egyptian. There's no mention of pyramids in the Old Testament at all in relation to Egypt. What they've done is basically they've basically named the land where the pyramids are Egypt and tied the 2 together. Essentially, that's what it's about. They're 100% certain they're built pre-flood by Welsh with fallen angel technology, and then the Marco Mannoi, the lost tribe of Joseph, have somehow they've been exiled from Britain and headed down there, and I believe this is why there's a book, the Cumberglyphics, Ross Broadstock, fantastic book, Wilson and Blackett, that decoded it or did it, and you can decode the hieroglyphs in Welsh. There is one special one, I think, which gives it the same zone, which is the Tutankhamun, but again, I'll come to that a bit later. But what it says is Holyhead, seen exit, add wonder. Well, what you have here on these 3, so and that's made up of Exeter, Swindon, and Holyhead. But what you actually have is half a pyramid, basically. The Eye of Horus fits on Brecon, because that's obviously is Recon. So what a place for the eye, and the pupil in the eye would be me, and I think that's what it was. It was learning how to do all this. This actually sits down on this line. This is the ank that I used, because what you've got is a bow as well. And this is a bow that fires off to Lewisham. I am Welsh. Okay, but there's a lot more to it, but I won't get into it too deeply, and this place is Abertillery. It says be artillery. So this is a bow, because this is an overlaid symbol that eventually turns into the Seal of Solomon, Leviathan the shark. There's so much more in this, and a full message in this in itself. But if I go into it, it would be all day. Right, okay, so what does it mean by scene exit and wonder? Well, as I built this now, follow these lines on and built this pyramid, you end up with this. Right, there's a story in the fishtail. Again, I won't get into it, but it tells you about the switching of Jerusalem. But what you have, add wonder, and there's a message sorry, that's right, and then you've got a message in these 2, which is, well, effectively is IB switch and Roman Catholic Rome. And what it is Kaya Went, the place Norfolk used to be called Kaya Went, and what they've done, the Roman Catholic Church, somewhere along the line, IB switched, they've switched it, and they've covered up obviously the name of Jerusalem and given it its Roman name as well, Venta Silurum, but all that is coded too. Okay, like I say, without getting into it, so this bone goes off and also identifies the pyramid as I am Welsh. So this is the Giza pyramid, because Giza pyramid is G is your map ID. And there's more to that as well, but I can't get into the Egypt thing because we'll be all day. But a G goes in the pyramid as well. You see the pyramid with the G in it. Well, G is Gymri. Gymri is Mr. Guy. It's my own map ID as well. Okay, also being the Silu as well. But I know this sounds crazy, and I am Welsh. And when it says I am Welsh, it's referring to this being Gymri, the land of the G. G is your map ID. My map ID is in Wales. But it's also I am Welsh. The Welsh word for Wales is Gymri, softened to Cymru because they like to get rid or hide the G's and move them aside. And this is partly why it's in Gwent as well, which is G Went, and the Kea Went, which is a fort. Okay, without getting off the track, I just wanted to run that by. Is there anything else there? No, but the cornerstone of Cornwall, the cornerstone of Egypt is on a corn wall, effectively. And I've decoded what the real meaning of the pharaohs are and everything else, all to do with braided hair and dyed. There's a code for that as well in Solomon. But again, without getting into it, I've got so much to do. I'll move on quickly from this. Okay, folks, I don't know if you're going to be able to see these too well because I know they don't show up, but as you can see, the star I showed you, you've got C, Melin, on the outside, the G, the H and the crown. I've decoded all this and it creates a toe basically, and a toe and an anchor. We put it together and it shows the chess piece on the board, which should be in the king, but you'll have to go to the last video where I explain it. But the symbols we're looking at is this one here. This is the dollar sign with a line on the top. There's a reason for the line on the top, and there's the line down, and there's the actual dollar sign, which is very strange. But obviously, knowing what the dollar bill message is, which ties it directly to Venta Silurum, which is the Roman given name for Went or Jerusalem, and this is what it's all about. Okay, so what you've got here is you've got the 9. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a normal sort of 5-pointed star, and it's got these, obviously those bits off it, which gives it 9 points, but it's also raised above ground. And the reason this is there is because this represents underground. So one is under, one is over, but the eventual winner is the overground and the star, which is the safe zone, effectively a Silu star. Okay, you've got the G and the H. The G is the lock on the temple. It's also Gymri. It's Jerusalem. It's a number of things. This one, to be honest, the H is Lan Melin and the H man, which is why you've got the C Melin, which decodes the clan Melvin as well. Incidentally, the C overlaps the clan, the double L. So, and you just overfill it on the toe and it gives you clan. You add VID, which is the anagram of David, which is a code, and you add VID and then you put the V into Melin and it says Melvin. So what you get is clan Melvin and a complete message on top of that. Okay, on the map, this is where this symbol belong, or these two symbols belong, and they're very, very telling. Okay, bear with me a second, and the code for this ties it to Lucifer himself, Lawrence Douglas Fink, is absolutely undeniable. But let me just show you. So what you've got at the bottom of the dollar, you've got the lock. This is the lock on the temple. This is Solomon's temple, C locking in Solomon's temple with the trick C. Again, I'll go over that again in a bit. Once you follow it straight up, you go across this former US Army base that's now been sold back or given back to the British. But I can tell you now, their safe zone is, they know, I decoded the safe zone, and I know how they've decoded it now as well, because I've been given that. But they have decoded through AI effectively. But this is the key fort. If you follow this key, just so you can know what this ties to the H, I can't do it on, in fact, let me just show you where this hits, just to show that this is no, none of this is coincidence. If I go to, where are we? Where's the key? Hang on, where are we? Way off. Right, there's the, right, if I go to this key, right, there's a place called Kemmy's Commander, just up north of this key, that actually unscrabbles and says, Marco mends me key. Right, this key, firstly, it's actually bent, so it needs mending. But even when you take the bent coordinates, it takes you to Keynsham, Bristol. Let me put it on there. Which line is it? That one there. When you take the bent key and you follow the bent line, it takes you to Keynsham. Keynsham says Keys H-man. So what you do then, once you Kemmy's Commander it, or Marco mends me key, it goes to roughly where I am now. Just line it up. I should have done this beforehand. There you go. As you can see from the centre of the key, I don't know if you can see this, let me just put it across. Okay, from the centre of the key, right through to the actual pinpoint tip of it, if you follow it so it goes straight, it takes you to a place called Corsham. Corsham in Wiltshire. Corsham is roughly where I am now, and it actually says Marco's H. So this is the quick code for the H-man. There's a lot more to it, but I'll just stick with that for now. But this is how you get the secret H written. Well, you get the secret H written in Melchizedek, which says C Mel Seek HID. Okay, and this place here, unbelievably, is called Dinham. It was Dinham Village, which is ID H-man as well. So it's not one thing, there's multiple. There's a lot more than that as well, which identifies the H-man. The H-man being me, which is why you've got the H on the code as well, which will show something absolutely stunning on that in a bit. Right, okay, so back to this. So what is this? Right, so you've got we've got the lock there, and we've got the key there. And what you've got is this represents underground. I mean, technically this should spin. You know, let me just pull it up. Get a little. Right, really speaking, this should spin underground. So what it's telling you is what they've done is they've bought with the American dollar, and I can show you exactly who bought it in a moment through code, which is stunning. And what they've done, they've built a safe zone of their own. I think it was already built by the US Army, and whether they knew back then, I don't know, but they gave it up about 10 years ago and handed it over. But they certainly, underneath here is the safe zone for the elites in the Vatican. Lucifer's line as well crosses directly across this and identifies BlackRock, which is his company, which is encoded here. It's Black Rock picnic site, but it is Black Rock, and there used to be a ferry because it's the Black Rock ferryman. Okay, taking him to the underworld, which is under here. The Silu Star, this actually sits on a place called Cribu. There's Cribu Mill that is there, but it's a place called Cribu, which is Golden Crib. Well, when you follow this straight down, it takes you back to the place where I was in the crib, or just off it, which is this house by here. This is Cowent House. There's a flat. My mother and father lived there, which all is encoded in the Joachim Boaz pillars. But again, I'll come on to that in a bit. But as you can see, this dollar, and right now the trick of this, or the crazy trick of this, right, this is a fence. This is the perimeter fence of the American or former American military base. That's basically this safe zone of theirs is underneath. And it's perfectly placed between the key and the lock because they've worked out where to go in a hurry. So when they start this war and set the bombs off, obviously they're going to be, they know they're going to be safe, and they think that the tribe, well, if the safe zone for the tribes is on top, that they're going to be safe underneath. Obviously it's a gin and a snare to Jerusalem, but again I'll come to that. But note, this is the important part, that this is the perimeter fence that goes around it, because this comes as part of the next code. 2 seconds. Okay, folks. Right, as I've shown you, right. Obviously, I've overdrawn this. Obviously, this goes off to Swindon. This goes off to Exeter. This goes off to Holyhead. This effectively is a seller spot, a seller society star and the dollar, a US sell a US, and this is where the dollar comes in, and this is the dollar, obviously. And then you've got the Siam star that sits on the top. One is above ground, one is below ground. You've got this on the top of it. Right, now the important thing here is that there is a fence that runs around it. Now this is where the creator's genius, the creator of this entire map tricks, comes in. And when to say what's in a name, absolutely phenomenal. Because as I decoded, Lucifer, the LU cipher, who happens to be Lawrence Douglas Fink, more to come on him. Okay, as another incredible statement encoded into his name, and it says, you couldn't make it up, people. You fence USA Dollar King. So encoded in his name is telling you that this is the dollar. He's obviously making himself the Dollar King. I guess he's trying to take the crown off the H. But this is the fence. He also, I'll get, obviously this also goes along with, and let's not forget that you can decode it. His name is absolutely phenomenal, because you also get CU ref. I won't, obviously can't cross it out, but you can check it yourselves. CU ref Soul Agenda link. Well, Agenda 30 or whatever it is that they're implementing is not good. Soul Agenda link. Then it says, and this C again goes with so locking in Mon's, well, Mon's Kingdom key, I guess, and all the rest of it, because it all ties together. CREF Soul Agenda link, it says, where are we? His name, and this is all from his name. These sentences come. Link 4 agenda clues. Bear in mind, on the one video I did the first bit, and I actually did the 4 clues, and then the following week realised that this is in there as well, which confirmed it. So it's the few who untied. He brings down the nations and reduces them to rubble, unfortunately. Untied, few who untied nations, I see, and map. So you've got the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum. This is what Larry Fink he's pulling the strings behind all of this, along with Klaus Schwab. Incident, that's another one. The few who, this is the WHO, the World Health Organization. Untied nations is United Nations. ICN map is well, that is where you start to see this. So locking in Solomon's safe zone. That's what that one is. So it's the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and this. Well, I won't say because we know why, but it says the few who untied nations ICN map. Okay, so locking in Solomon's safe zone. Well, so locking in safe zone, I guess. Okay. Now, the other and final, well, I say final one, I don't even know, there could be more to come yet, but this also says, he's the one, he's the front for the one that set up this, and he's a madman, absolute madman. But without getting into it, because I don't want to get knocked off here or whatever, but this name undoes all this. You've had US Dollar King. Well, he is known also as the King of Wall Street. So, you know, and he is the Dollar King, and he's and his software program, Aladdin, is his magic lamp, is the false light of Lucifer. But there's something else that confirms that, written in the stars, along with something else that's absolutely extraordinary. But as you can see, oh, and then not to forget, we've got this is F. F is the sixth letter of the alphabet. This is the man. This reversed. The World Economic Forum is the beast. And they're looking to chip you, well, enslave us. I don't know what they're playing out altogether, but they're certainly. But all this links as well to the UN mural. But I'm going to have to do that. That's starting to come as well. Bits towards that, but there's a lot of signs in. There's a lot of code in that. But as you can see, there's no doubt how clever this is, and this name was purposed. Like I say, my name was purposed. It's written into everything, not because I've been looking for it. It just is, and it's everywhere I go. But it's obviously giving the code credibility. Well, on the bad side of things, this is, well, if that doesn't convince you that this is actually, you know, correct, and even tying it with the American dollar message, which I'll come to now as well in a little while, because I'm going to rejig that one to show you exactly how this all fits together as well. 2 seconds. Okay, whilst we're on the subject of Lucifer as well, obviously Lawrence Douglas Fink. At the moment they're meeting, there's a meeting in Davos. Basically they're summering up to, it's frightening what's happening, but these people, if you've not heard of it, there's a thing called Davos. Well, a place in Switzerland called Davos, where the WEF are actually meeting, I believe as we speak, as I do this, right in the full moon in Cancer. Not that they've picked that, I think that's just significant to this whole code coming out. But with the place they're meeting, and the place is called Davos. Well, this is so ad V. So I realise, as well as let's just do it. So you've got the V in the middle. So this is Davos, and then coming down, this is their own completion. Yeah, I think this is the year of the World Economic Forum, or what they're planning to do. But I think it's their downfall at the same time. So this one is the Vatican. This is Le Mans, name's L, I forget this one, on L I think, or something along them lines. This place is with church, so it's the Vatican with church, and what they're doing is they're creating their own town, their own completion. And completion at Taurus is town roots, but again, this goes onto a map, but if you go back on the sigil one, you'll realise that this is all eerily coming to pass. But right, 2 seconds. Sorry, as well, while I'm on it, Striguil Castle, which is the old name for Chepstow Castle, tells you L cast. Well, L is the LU cipher, so it's Lucifer, and this is Larry Douglas Fink. So the LU cipher, basically. Lucifer cast is cast out, the sigil is true, and we spot H. So they've spotted H. This is why there's a dollar sign on the safe zone and over it. Or this is an anagram. Sigil Castle is L cast, sigil true, and then Chepstow is we spot H. Okay, just to clear that one up. Okay, folks, it's right. I just want to do a quick recap of what we've sort of already done to a degree, but I want to show you something incredible that ties with all this. Right. Okay. So, right, this amazing atlas line is Crick, Portskewitt, Sudbrook, Temple Meads. Okay, put a comma in there. Temple Meads. Okay. Crickport, Stewart and Sudbrook are on the Welsh side of the river, all lining up, and then you follow it down and it hits a place called Temple Meads in Bristol. Okay, this is what gives you this code, the trick C, which is the trick C that opens everything up with Solomon, which I'll show you in a second. But what I'm doing here is the trust book bit, and the keeps word bit is absolutely phenomenal when I show you what it is. Okay, firstly you need to write, this is Bristol, this is Mon. So in Wales, and this is England effectively. So we've got with the Sea RV or River Severn that runs between the two, because obviously this is all about seeing the RV in the map. Okay, Bristol Mon is Brit Sol Mon. When you unscramble Bristol, it says Brit Sol, and then all you do is add the moon sign, which is me, the son of the moon sign, born in Cancer. You add the sign of the moon, and you get Brit Solomon. So Solomon is a Brit, which I already know because Solomon's name, Coelin ap Caradoc, does the same thing in anagrams. It says C all code or all code C, whichever way round. All code C, go and pray. Well, when you go and pray, what you do is effectively you're doing it in the Cancer sign, the inverted Cancer sign. But what I do is it connects down, feels full of wisdom, the reflection looking down. I've given up my sins, my Canaan and Egypt, or Swindon, but I'm also seeking as well. So it's Swindon and Canaan. This would be Swindon Canaan. I'm assuming whichever way it goes. Egypt, Exeter, so it's seek. Exeter, Egypt. And what I've done is seek, and who have I found? Well, I found that's the Tetragrammaton, which connects it all together, connects it in the middle. But I found Yahweh, that's who I found. Okay, the creator of all this. Downloads all this to me, and for whatever reason it's me, I do not know. But what you've got is an inverted Cancer sign anyway. This gives you the safe zone. This is the way of getting it to make it effectively. Now what we're going to do, just to say, so you know, it says trust book, because what this also is, let me just remove some of this. Obviously, like I say, it's the inverted Cancer sign again, which is why the Cancer sign is so important to Solomon, but there's a bit more to it than that. And what you do, you just connect these up, and what you have is a book. So it says trust book. So what is the book? If you think people will think the automatic, it's probably the Bible or the Old Testament. No, that is just this code within that. But he says, I show you new words, or I create new words. Well, they've been created all along. As places have been named and built, he's put it in their minds to make these places. But what this is the Atlas. It's a last, because there's a last message written in a matrix, which when you padlock it, or you take it with padlock and scrabble it, it says add P and lock. That's why there's a padlock on Solomon's temple, and when you add the P to matrix, it becomes matrix. And that's what this is all about. It's all matrix. It's the end time message for the safe zone, for everything really, written into creation. So there's no doubt. And he says, I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to pass, you'll know I did it. And I am your God. I am your Saviour. There is no other. There's no Jesus. All I am is a God. I'm the guide, the vessel to show you all these things that he is showing me, and that's what's going on. Whether you want to, how I work this out, but you tell, it would be impossible. I get these codes weekly. And they're just not small codes, and they all click together in the most miraculous way. Okay, so let me just pause you there. I think that's everything on that one. 2 seconds. Another genius code actually within this. That obviously this is Temple Meads, but it says adds me Temple. Okay, I'm doing this prematurely, but by the end of this video, apart from a few symbols, we pretty much, I can show you, knowing what the promise is, keeps word is the promise of safety, but I'll get to that. But adds me temple. So what I do is, okay, so I add me and the word temple. Coincidence of all coincidence, it's am completer. So I am completer of the temple, of the you know, ultimate. Like I say, I'm showing you in advance, but that's a hidden code also in temple meads. Adds me temple, so I add me temple, Marco temple, unscramble it, says I'm completer. Not a coincidence, I can assure you. Okay, folks, back to the US dollar message. Okay, so what you have on the written on the American dollar, this is the one, the seal that was handed, and this really does seal up the American dollar. Right, just to connect it, it says, Annuit coeptis novus ordo seclorum. That first bit is Latin. It says, he nodded at the beginning of centuries. When you anagram this sentence, it gives you this. Ventus silurum, octopus ones in door. Now, the door is the fort itself. And obviously there's a key and the lock between it, and they're in the door because that dollar sits upon the sort of fence in the middle. In the Ventus Silurum is actually Jerusalem with these massive wall, well, what were 60-foot high walls, still 20 foot in places. It's no small fort, housed over 2,500 to 3,000 people allegedly. Not built by Romans, though, built by Siluri. But this directly, this is an anagram of this. When you unscramble that, this is what it tells you. So it directly connects Coent to the American dollar, which I've showed you on the thing as well. The octopus ones, they're those that have got their tentacles into everything. This is Lucifer. I think the beast, and you know, you got Leviathan, but I think they released the Kraken, the giant, you know, the giant, this World Economic Forum, the beast, the 666, and they're going to bring out the mark of the beast, or try to, but by all accounts that fails. So, but they're getting into that. Okay. Right, okay, so the second part is plus UI number. This is an anagram of e pluribus unum. This is the other statement written on the dollar. In Latin, it says out of many one. Right, so we have this overlapping C, which originally I thought it said C ventus silurum octopus ones in door. But now we have the Solomon code, which is basically it's so solo. You put the trick C in, then you put the word king, mons, and then obviously, so this is how the trick C works. And this says king solo mons, but obviously it's so locking mons temple or mons key, or in this case, what it actually says is, or what goes in there is, mons. Well, I could put lock key, but I'll put temple key dollar, which is obviously what matches with the picture and the whole reason it's there. And obviously you've got your Douglas Fink as well, the octopus one. He's the head of the octopus, really. The Kraken, really, is Lucifer. But as you can see, so what you have, and he says, I show you things in ancient times, so when they come to pass, you know that I did it. He nodded at the beginning of centuries. In other words, he already said, he's already laid out this plan. We just follow it. It's just following through. This is why this keeps preempting what I'm doing. You know, I'll do something, and then the following week it confirms it. But the confirmation was written in the stars or in the ground or wherever a long time before I was even born, never mind anything else, including my name encoded into everything to be, it's absolutely brilliant. But there we go. We know that at the beginning of centuries, Ventus Silurum, that's the actual, if you type in Ventus Silurum on in Google, you will get Coent. Coent is the decoded Jerusalem. I won't go into the actual decoding, but it says octopus ones in door. So locking in mons temple key and dollar. Well, obviously you create the dollar from the center of the dollar, goes from the lock in the temple. Mons temple goes to the key at Lam Melin, and then you create it, which gives you the safe zone and the lorry, the dollar, and the message written in Larry Fink's name saying you fence the dollar USA Dollar King. Then it also says plus UI number out of many one, which he obviously is referring to me because, well, it can only be being the one that seems, well, it's coded in, as I'm going to show you something even more spectacular on that. But there we go. I'll just leave that there. But that's the American dollar message, the secret message hidden in it. Okay, folks, right, this is absolutely outstanding piece of coding. Not my code, not me, I'm not, obviously I don't take the credit for this because I just get it in an instant. But, well, I say an instant, I got the GH, but I got the final. We're going to tie up the G. This is what this is about. It's creating, it's why is there a GH? A lock, Jerusalem and the Melin H, the lock and the key. Well, I'm about to unlock it all. Right, it's all written into the, right, Yah makes a promise to Abraham, Jacob, not Jacob, it's Jacob, and Isaac. And do not be fooled by the double A in Isaac, because the truth is written in the tribe of Issachar. Obviously, and I can tie the two together now in the most extraordinary way. And Issachar is spelled I-S-S-A, and as you can see, that says Isaac. And I'll explain the rest now because this is phenomenal coding. Okay, so his name is Isaac. They love changing things, and they've changed the J. They've put a J in there, taken Yah out of the Bible. They've butchered it really, which is why Yah does his new works written into the Atlas, the stars, and everything else, written into creation, because man cannot. Well, nobody else could do it. That's as simple as that. He is showing things in ancient times, so when they come to pass, then you'll know he did it. Well, this is an amazing example. Okay, firstly, right, the promise to Abraham is the safe zone. But he says that he'll keep them safe in the future, and his seed will continue forever. That's what it basically says. So this relates, I can tell you, to the safe zone. So what is the safe zone? When it's Canaan, Egypt, Judea, it's the same as the same three coordinates. So you've got the land of Ab. And this is all by design. Do not think I'm making this up. The land of Ab is Wales. It's Aberystwyth with Aberdare, Abergavenny, I don't know, there's a ton of Abbas. So the land of Ab also means father. The Welsh also always sing about the land of my fathers, funnily enough. And I think this is a throwback as well to, to this, because I think the ancient people knew, but were bullied in silence and murdered. But we'll get into that. Right, okay, so we've got the land of Ab, the land of Rgh, which is Cornwall, which is Egypt, Exeter, Swindon, and this would be H, but again, that gives you all the, yes, he's Abraham in this case. So this is right, so Abraham's part of the promise, because this promise is written in the names. So you've got your Ab, Ra, and your Ham. This is the first three parts of that triangle, and as I showed you, the Torah codes all fit in here. The Torah codes and everything else. Well, there's so much more to this, but either way, so we've got the KEY and the land of Ham is Birmingham, Southampton, Melksham. If you actually look at the amount of places named Ham in England, it's colossal, and it's all part of the Atlas code of Atlas is a last message. It's all about this safe zone and getting people to it. Okay, so his part of the promise is this initial triangle. Now, from this initial triangle, now we have to, right, now this is where it gets amazing. These are called the three patriarchs, okay? Why are they called three patriarchs? Well, it's all about a code, a very, very clever code. Three parts I arch. Okay, right, three parts I arch. So what we're going to find are three parts of this code that arch together, that make something that fulfills the promise. Right, well, as unbelievable as this is, right, the first thing, well, let me just show you what they are. The constellation of Cancer, this is all about the Cancer, this is about these pillars of the temple. Okay. Let me just draw that in. Right, well, let me just tell you this. Right, this one is, as I've stated, is G. This one is H. The lock, this is the lock and the key. Okay? All right, this is absolutely incredible. Okay, so how does Jacob fit into Jacob fit into Jerusalem, the lock? Because the two pillars that you connect, well, here's the third one for a start. It's the royal, and I didn't realise this, but in the last video, it was only just before the last video, I was watching something and this came up, and I realised, I realised, or I saw, that this arch is, this Masonic arch with cancer symbol on it, is the royal arch. Okay? Right, well, I can tell you that royal is the first part of the three parts I arch. Okay? Then what you've got, right, at the temple, this actually represents the temple. The name of the two pillars are Joachim and Boaz. In fact, let's remove that. Right, there's a house right by the temple, by the lock. Okay, this is where I lived as a boy. So, Yachim, I think, well, they've cut it down, they think the L-O out, but it makes no odds, like I said. This is the name of the temple. I also think this should be an S. I'll put a Z in there, but either way, whatever. But what this is, if you actually, right, if you take the name Jacob, it says, actually, let's do it there. It says, see a boy. Okay, and then you use your trick C, which I need more room. There's your trick C. So lock in Mon's temple, Monmouthshire, the temple in Monmouthshire, basically, in Ventiside room. Okay, so locking in Mon's temple. We'll see a boy. So Jacob, Yachim Boaz actually says, let's just do it. See him as, like I say, I think that should be a C. It's just space those out a bit. B-O-Y. It actually says see him as a boy. Right, so obviously that's a see him as a boy. Then you have got, and again you've got C, so locking in Mon's temple. Well, the matrix is also known as the womb for some reason, or you know that when it mentions it the womb light as a womb. Well, it is because I was inserted into this house not 20 feet from the lock. So this gives you your first part, making this the G being being the Jacob's part of the promise, because you see him as a boy. Okay, what have I done there? Okay, so there's your first part, so Jacob. Okay, now the third part of the promise. Right, I need a bit more room here, but right, okay, so the third part of the promise is the H. It's the Melling H, and it's written, right, Issachar, the tribe of Issachar, and the decoded tribe of Newport Gwent. And I'll show you one. Issachar is. Right, firstly, you've got Rgh, Iska, and Iskas. Okay, this uses up effectively all the letters and the H as well, actually. Right, but what you actually have is Rgh is where Mel number 1 was born, Melvin ap Robert, my grandfather. Iska was where just outside of Iska, or in the area of Iska Sayuram, which would be Killeen. My father was born, I can't think of the name of the place, but it's right by there. Well, it's in the area of Iska Sayuram, so he would be Mel 2, and his name is Melvin at Melvin. This is where the Melvin line comes in from the 3rd place. Okay, number 3. So you've got Rgh was Mel 1, Iska is Mel 2, and then is Cass. Well, Mel 3 was born, that's me, in Cass. There's your Cass. Well, it's actually Cass Newith. Well, Cass Newith is what is named. Well, that's the Welsh name for Newport. Okay. Now, this is Cass H, but the amazing part of this now, so you've got the full Melvin line. So the Melvin, which is your clan Melvin, which is your decode from the Solomon seal. Your clan Melvin is all to do with land Melin and the H. Okay, so what you've got here, Isaac, if you look, is Cass. Sorry, let's start that again. So we've got this is Isaac's piece of the puzzle. That's how you connect Isaac, because you've got the 3 men in line that all come from, and also they're from the 5th tribe. Is the 5th tribe, which in Roman numerals is also V. Well, when you add VID, you get Clan Melvin again. So the V doubles up, and you get that from a place called Coed Morgan, which is G Roman code G, or G Roman code. It's just telling me there's Roman code involved, because V in 5 in Roman numerals is also a V. So it connects it. But this is also the replanted, Mel is also elm. So he ripped up the elm, the tree by the roots. It doesn't say what tree, and he replants it. Well, he replanted it at my grandfather, and he's the root of David, the root of Advid, and he's the replanted tree. My father then obviously goes on. He's Melvin at Melvin, and then obviously me and David is it says the son of David. Well, it's a son of Advid, so a son of the clan Melvin. That's what I am. Marco at Melvin, and the tribe of son of Joseph, which also highlights the end time chosen one, is the tribe of yourself when you decode it, and it's the Marco Manai tribe. And then the tribe of Judah is why you add a H, because it's Marco I Man H. But without going too deep into it, I just want to show you this miraculous piece of work now, because this goes up. So firstly, from the 3 parts you arch, the 3 parts I arch, and Issachar incidentally is also decodes as, hang on, Issachar, as is arch. Okay, so it's showing you that this also connects, as is arch, connects to the 3 parts I arch. Now here's where it gets incredible. And believe me, this is absolutely mind-blowing. So the first part of the 3 parts you arch is the royal. The second part of the arch is Isaac, which is your is Jacob or Jacob, because we're going 1, 2, 3, and that's the royal, that's G, and the third part is H. Okay, so what has this got to do? Well, I was born in the Royal Gwent Hospital in Cass Newith, so this is the Cass, which is Cass Newith, or Newport, which is where the 5th tribe is from. And the 3 parts I arched, the code is the RGH, it's the Royal Gwent Hospital. And I also think this is the Royal Gwent Hospital because of the Royal, so not, right, they get into it. So within that province, and it's like, and it gets, right, okay, and here's where it gets even more crazy. Okay, so as you get, right, the Royal Gwent, have I missed anything? Bear with me. So we've got the lock, the key, and the royal. And I think we are the royal family, the Holy Family. So 3 parts I arch. So 3 parts I arch. Royal Gwent Hospital, RGH. That's to do with the Cassie. That's the Cass Newith. The H. Oh yeah. So it's and this is where it gets amazing. So it's CA. Right, we get that bit, don't we? So we've got the RGH, so we've got the Royal Gwent Hospital, this is your RDH, Jacob is CA boy, Isaac is Cass, well it's Cass Newith, born in Cass Newith in the Royal Gwent Hospital, and this says, and this is obviously you're so locking in, Mons Kingdom, I guess, or Kingdom, or Key, or Code, or I don't know, what is this? Mons Royal Arch. But this is why the Royal Arch, and I'm also a son of the moon sign, and the sun, it's got a face, a bit wonky, sun, the moon sign in Cancer, and also crescent moon, because the original, hang on, crescent moon. Originally, on this, before this moon comes to the full, on the symbology, what you have is this, the crescent moon. Well, the crescent moon even has a code in it as well, because that says, see secret on Mon. Well, the secret on Mon is the son of the moon sign in Cancer, being born in the Royal Gwent Hospital, fulfilling the promise to create this, or to unlock the safe zone at the time of, well, using the Atlas message, a last message, and obviously being able to unlock this and guiding people where to go. There's no way this is a coincidence, people. And like I said, I'm not somebody who believes in things that just like this fairy tale stuff. And I didn't ever choose to be this or what. Well, I didn't even expect it either, and it still takes some taking in. But I think the code is actually undeniable. Well, I'm at a loss to explain how all this can fit together, and more to the point, how I even know it. Because this, and again, there's more to come yet. Okay, yeah, and just on that as well. Right, right. I had an inkling. See, I thought the GH up to the point. I try and think why GH? And what I thought was it was the core of righteousness, because I use it, or words are used over and over and over, and really makes a point of them. And he says, he sends a righteous one, and he loves righteousness. Well, would you believe this? Oh, Rgh Roos 1, and this is probably in relation to the UI plus UI number out of many 1. Okay, strike 1. Strike 2 is even more incredible. If that's even possible. So I said, use Royal Gwent, RGH, Royal Gwent Hospital. You couldn't make this up, people. Okay, I'll just move on to the next one. Okay, folks, I just hope you can see this. It's I've had to use a blue pen. My other one's dying a death with black pens. Right, okay. This just to show you how crazy this is. 3 days ago, and I haven't used this name in a long, or even thought of this in a long time. But this is how it works. Into my head came Craddock Strongarm. Now, if you look historically and you type in King Craddock, you will find that he was known as Craddock Strongarm. Okay, now when that comes into my head randomly, I automatically know there is something in it. And the timing of this is just absolutely immense, because right, there's a message written in Draco, and I'll show you how this all works out now. But I tried to work this one out, and I'll tell you the reason why. Is when I found Lucifer, I know he relates to the place called the Cauldron. It's a cauldron roundabout. My enemies compass me roundabout. It says that, but he's used the word roundabout, actually cleverly coded into the Bible as well. Right, so the cauldron is Draco L. Now, this connected instantly. I know that Draco L is Draco the dragon, is Lucifer, the LU cipher. And then this tied with Chepstow Castle, and the sigil is true, and everything else. However, there's a reason I got this first and could not unscrabble this message. But now I can, all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, this comes in, and then, well, just watch this miracle in the making. Right, like I say, I don't even know where this came from, but there's a message written in Craddock Strongarm, and it says, unbelievably, G O N S T A. Oh, sorry, hang on, I missed one A. Hang on. R. Sorry, the missing letter is the only one missing is the G, and this should say, just in case you hadn't even thought of any other Marco. Right, Marco G Dragon Star. Now, the reason I couldn't work this out, and what this is actually a message to go look at the drag, or find the Dragon Star and the message in it. Obviously, I'm not the, well, you could say I'm the Star of Wales, but this is not. This is to tell you to go to this message. Right, now the Dragon Star, well, when I went, the first thing I noticed was this one, Atlas. Oh, it's got Atlas and I. So I Atlas, you've got G Rum, you've got G Roos, I can see. So I know there's a message in this, and even those are not even part of the message, but they just highlight the whole thing. Right, well, there is a message in there, and the reason I get this now, because this is to tell you to go to this star to unscrabble the message. Now, as you can see, I've written the name of these are all the named stars in Draco the Dragon. So when he tells me Marco G Dragon Star, he's telling me to go there for a reason. And now all of a sudden, given the last code that I got, now I know what now I'm able to work this out pretty easily. And it ties up not only, well, the American dollar. Well, you'll see now. So I'm not going to have time to cross all these off, but you can check them yourselves if you want to go. I don't know whether I don't think I spelled them wrong, but if you check them and work them out yourself, you'll see that the message I'm about to show you comes from this. So what is Craddock Strongarm trying to tell me? Right, bear with me. Let me just pause this so I can write the whole. Okay, folks, just so you say, you could not make this up. So when I unscrabble this message, it says, Atlas Star, UID as Jerusalem. Well, when you reverse it, and you put the code in, it says, when you unscrabble the full code, it says Marco at Melvin, a surname G. And then it obviously, you get the word Vine Man from it, which I did in the last video. I'll do that in a second when I clear the board. But then it says, then I bind you a baby at Rgh, the Royal Gwent Hospital. So not only the top, obviously, like, you can't, there's no way on this earth, and this is coincidence, that he's even telling, well, not only is this a true statement, because I've done it already, this is a true statement, because I've done it already, and the Illuminati AI banned all a chain H. Right, the AI, sorry, Illuminati AI banned all a chain H. Right, why? And there's a missing L. So the only thing that's missing is L. But Larry Fink's software is called Aladdin. This is his lamp. This is his lamp that's granting his wishes that he's rubbing, and you know, it's the software that has basically got him into power and put the tentacles into everyone and got the power. Well, when you inscribe Aladdin, it says add an L ID. It says add an L ID. So when you add an L, so Aladdin is the AI that has basically somehow the Illuminati, which he's claimed to be part of, the Illuminated Ones or whatever they're supposed to be, but the Illuminati is the American sort of Freemason thing. The Illuminati AI banned all the chain H. In other words, their AI has somehow somehow worked out the safe zone. Obviously, they don't know it all, but that's what that is. And Aladdin, and you tie that with a quantum computer, that software is deadly, really. And it's funny that Elon Musk was warning about releasing the demon, and as was the guy, something Rose, who created the quantum computer, or spokesman for it, was saying like that it's something to do with releasing the demon. Amazingly as well, the Vatican, the Pope, recently said that the elegant demon Lucifer was roaming the Vatican, or prowling the Vatican type thing. Well, they already know he is. It's not nothing. He's a man, and he said, and it does. It says the elegant demon, a man, and it is a man. It's Lawrence Douglas Fink, who created Aladdin software. That basically, well, obviously, this is why he's gone. But that connects why the dollar and the drag, is and why they've purchased that underground bunker, and there's something in New Jerusalem is under there, or the pyramid that creates and they come out and create New Jerusalem on Old Jerusalem. And I think this is all encoded as well into the UN Security Council mural, but I'll come to that. But for now, just like by magic, Marco G Dragonstar. This is how I got to it. That just came into my head. Karadic strong arm. Marco G Dragonstar. So I went to it, saw Atlas, or iAtlas, and I saw a few other bits. And I'm thinking, okay, it's a message. Wasn't able to uncode it before, but I wouldn't have even thought of RGH and a baby, not in a million years. And then it comes out with these exact statements. The Atlas star. I'll just quickly do that. I've done it before, but just so there's no doubt. This Jerusalem. Right, obviously you have to go back to the Taurus, which gives you the secret written in Taurus, is Uran Guyana map, and secret eye hid in. And it also says, I missed it off the actual last video, but the end of that statement is Bran a lead. Well, Bran is King Bran of Clan Melin. He ruled. He's Karadic's father, so it obviously connects it to that as well. But what you have is the secret he hid in is a place called Marco. On the decoded thing is Belem was the place, and the place called Marco just above it, and it's drawn out on a crane, a constellation of the crane written into the land with a message saying Anagai surname I am a mapper, amongst other things. But it was Marco app, and then it's right. So Marco app, this should be in one line really, but it's okay, because what you have, right, when you take the vin and the name, it gives you Vine Man. So Jesus is not the true vine. I am. Why, how, I don't know, but it clearly is. And I'm not making this stuff up, that's for sure. Okay, so, but what you have So what does it mean when he says Atlas star UID as Jerusalem? Because in that statement it's got, well, let's just cross them, GRUSALEM. It's just in reverse. Jerusalem. And Marco at Melvin, a surname G, hidden in Jerusalem. There is no way on earth that this is all coincidence, folks. Right, I was going to do the Pleiades message. Oh, should I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't want this video to run over. In fact, I'm going to leave it. But I'll do the Acellus Borealis, which is the Acellus above real. It's all to do with the sweet influences of the Pleiades. But just so you know, without even writing it up, I will tell you what. There's 9 stars: the Pleione, Alcyone, Asterope, Seleno, Electra, Maya, Merope, Taygeta, and Atlas. And this all ties to can't stay bind the sweet influences or loose the bands of Orion, the sweet influence of the Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion. Well, I'll show you the actual, where you get the bow and everything else from next time, but just in advance, just to show you that these star messages are absolutely unbelievable. It says, the star message is Pli I1, all C, with the letter C, so lock in Solomon's temple, kingdom, key, whatever. Pli I1, all C, E1 on Atlas. I am Archilect, he set me a rope, get rope at. And the place that the bow and arrow hits, a place called Mablethorpe. So the answer to the actual star message is written on the place that this bow and arrow hits. I'll show it again, but it says rope be at Mel H. And that rope is for the crane G Rus. But I'll leave it at that for now, guys and girls, because I think that's a massive amount of code, and I just pray and hope that just to make sure this uploads. Apologies for the dank ink, but you know, the message is there. But either way, I ask you to like. Apparently, if you like these things and share them, apparently it goes up in. I don't know if this is true. I'm no expert on this stuff, but apparently it goes up in the algorithm, and this message gets out further. And this message really does need to get out further, because it's not about me. This is about proving that the Creator is real. There's a divine plan, and we really are in the end times, and there is a safe zone for those who listen and take note. But obviously I can't do any more than plead with you and ask you to share this, get this out, even if people, you know, people will laugh. I know people laugh because they won't even look at it, a lot of people, but you know, more fool them in the long run. But they will look when the next will trick, when the time comes. But anyway, just like I say, get your hands up, stand in the letter Y, put your sins on your palms, ask Yah for forgiveness, because he's very real. This is, none of this is there by, this is not man's work. And I really, for whatever reason, and again, I want to emphasize, this is not an ego trip, because I did not expect this, and I don't even really think I'm good at doing this sort of thing. So it makes, you know, I don't know. But either way, folks, Yah's blessings until the next video.